You're watching Telecom TV from the ETSI NFV 15 event in Nice, and I'm joined now by Bruno Chatras, who is Senior Standardization Manager at Orange. Bruno, thanks for speaking with Telecom TV again. We've been talking at this event about the relationship between NFV and 5G. For service providers, does it mean that before they can embark on the 5G journey, they have to adopt and implement NFV first?
It all depends on what we mean by 5G. I mean, if you look at 5G as a radio technology, obviously you don't need to wait for NFV to perform trials on the 5G technology, demonstrate how much bandwidth you can get. There are already many trials, European projects on that. But if you look at 5G as an overall concept, if you want to meet the requirements that have been specified by NGMN, for example, or that even 3GPP is about to specify, all these requirements about network elasticity, creating a versatile network, well, you need some form of virtualization. So rather than reinventing the wheel, it seems quite logical to build the 5G network on NFV. So in that sense, yes, you need to have some form of NFV infrastructure as a basis to deploy a fully-fledged 5G network.
How does a service provider go about selecting an NFV vendor partner when we don't yet know who the major 5G partners and players are going to be?
Well, the good news with NFV is that it is intended to separate the virtualized network functions from the infrastructure supporting them or even from the management systems supporting these functions. So ideally, you should be capable of selecting products for an NFV infrastructure and NFV management and orchestration systems without knowing in advance who will be the providers of your virtualized network functions, for example, 5G network functions or perhaps something else. So I don't think that there will be a tight coupling between the two decisions. I would even say that there should not be any coupling between the selection you make for an infrastructure and the selection you make for a particular type of VNF, virtual network function.
So what has been Orange's experience of NFV so far?
Well, we have been involved in NFV since the beginning, since we are one of the co-authors of the funding white paper. If we look to the enterprise market, we could even say that this is almost already a commercial reality for us. We have already made some field trials with real customers for an on-demand VPN service, and this is about to be deployed on a quite large-scale basis by the end of this year. We are in a kind of test and learn process. For example, at the Mobile World Congress, we had a demonstration on a virtual mobile core network involving several vendors, because precisely the tricky point today is to build a solution which is truly multi-vendor. So this is something that we wanted to test in a real situation.
And what have been some of the major challenges that Orange has had to confront when trialing and deploying NFV and onboarding VNFs?
To me, the main challenge, but perhaps it's because my personal background is standardization activities, that the main challenge is precisely the lack of standards, which means it is quite difficult to build a multi-vendor solution today. There are a lot of interoperability challenges, but hopefully this is a temporary roadblock, I would say, because the standards are being developed. We are at a stage where the only thing that is really missing is a translation of the ETSI standards into concrete protocol specifications, API specifications, data models, etc. And this is something that has been started a couple of months ago.
Which brings us on to ETSI. How important is it that standards organisations, particularly ETSI, are involved in the whole process from the development of NFV all the way through to 5G?
For 5G, it's quite essential to be involved, to involve the 5G industry or the 5G community at large, including the research project or the specialized SDOs. It's quite important to involve them as soon as possible, because we need to identify as early as possible whether 5G brings new requirements that could require extensions to the NFV platform, I would say NFV infrastructure, NFV orchestration systems, etc. Because the risk, if we don't identify these special requirements as early as possible, is that other organizations might be tempted to create, I would say, 5G specific NFV variants. And this would be counterproductive, because the whole idea of NFV is to have a generic platform supporting multi-use cases. And if one major use case is not well supported, of course there will be a temptation to create something similar but slightly different. So as soon as we can figure out what are the changes required, what are the additions required to fully support 5G, we should do this as soon as possible.
Bruno, thank you very much indeed.
You are welcome.